So are you okay with the burning and the destruction that this terrorist attack upon America by Black Lives Matter and Antifa and those people?
Well, I understand where that rage comes from.
So you're okay with the terrorist attack?
I mean, I don't call it a terrorist attack. That's not what I see.
But you're okay with it?
I'm actually excited by what's happening right now.
The burning and the destruction and people lives being taken and all that.
Well, that's not how I see what's happening right now.
But it is happening.
It's happening.
And you're okay with it?
I am excited by it.
When times get tough, you need to get proud. No need to look backward, put your feet on the ground. Stand up, stand up.
Welcome to the TheFallenState. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. You see this shirt? We are celebrating White History Month. July is White History Month, and if you enjoy our content, go to TheFallenState.tv/donate. TheFallenState.tv/donate. So I'm having a conversation today, and it's my first in my entire life. I am talking with Dr. Finley. She is an assistant professor of American and Ethnic Studies at USC, the University of Southern California. And a little background on the doctor, she is a Native American professor. And this is my first time I've ever spoken to a Native American. I think one called into my radio show once, but in person it's the first time. So thank you, Doctor, for coming on. I appreciate it. Do you want to be called Professor Finley or Dr. Finley?
Whichever one works for you.
Professor sounds good.
Yeah.
It sounds smart. So you are a member of the Colville Confederate tribe. What is that exactly? And how is that different from the other tribes?
Well, some of the tribes in the Northwest and other places, they had it so they put a bunch of different tribes together. Like the Nez Perce were punished after Chief Joseph, tried to run away from the cavalry. Mm-hmm. So they moved him from what was then like Oregon, and they actually dispersed the Nez Perce into several different Native nations. And so some of them came up to Colville, and they became a part of one of the many confederated tribes that we have, which is about like 16. Oh. So there's a bunch of us, right? And we have over 8,500 members of our tribe. We also have the largest land base in Washington State.
Really? So you grew up, so when you say they did it, who
the U.S. federal government.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
And so Colville is in Washington State?
Yes.
And so you literally grew up on Indian territory, Native American territory?
Well, yes, but I did not grow up on the reservation.
Oh, you did not?
Right.
And why not?
Right by the reservation.
And why did you grow up on the reservation itself?
My mom didn't want me to grow up on the reservation. So, actually, I don't even know, right? Like, she decided to move us like very nearby so we could go visit family and when we wanted to. Uh-huh. But yeah, we lived in the nearby town, which is called Colville.
That's amazing. Mm-hmm. And so did you grow up with your father and mother?
No, I just grew up with my mother.
And where was your father?
He was on the reservation.
Oh, he was on the reservation?
Yep.
And your mother lived there for a while, she moved off?
Yeah, and actually we moved around quite a bit. Oh. So we are very nomadic, which is very traditional for Colville people.
Oh, I see. And was she married to him at one point?
No, she was not.
And, oh, I see, so you were born out of wedlock?
Yes.
So do Native Americans get married in the way that normal people do?
Actually, 50% of us or more are actually Christians.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so a lot of us are Christians. So a lot of people do get married, in church or get married by the state or different ways.
So even the Native Americans who live on the territory, they are Christians as well?
Yeah, in fact, a lot of the different nations were actually divided up by churches, right? So we're part of in our part of the state, we're Catholics, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah, so there's also a lot of different churches on the reservation now, though.
So did they become Christians as a result of the influence of white Americans? Were they Christians before that?
Well, no, they were forcibly, that's part of the forcible assimilation that the U.S. government wanted us to be, in order to be assimilated, they thought we'd be better as Christians right? So.
What were they before Christian?
We practice our own different religious traditions that are actually, and spiritual traditions that are very deep,
And that involve God?
like a creator. Maybe it was just a different word for it.
But it was the same God?
It was not Jesus. Is that what you mean? Like God, like
Like
Christian
the
God?
the Christian God.
Yeah, no.
Were the Native Americans serving the Christian God prior to white folks coming in?
No, I mean, no. I mean, we had our own idea of what that was.
Oh, they
So-
just made up something?
Well, it wasn't made up, and we lived there for over 12,000 years, so it's not like it was just like made up. I mean, it was a long tradition.
Oh, I see. And so does that explain why it's been said that prior to Christianity, Native Americans were like savages because they didn't really believe in a God?
Well, I
Or
think
the
they
real
said that
God?
because they really wanted to steal our land, right? And that was a way to be like, hey, these people are not Christians, so therefore they are savages, and that they cannot manage their own line or their own land and people.
That's interesting. Were they acting like savages?
I mean, it depends on what you mean. Like, were we like murdering people like the settlers? I don't know. We did not come in like that, right? Because we actually tried to live in harmony with other people. And I mean, obviously there was warfare, right? Because we're people, we're complicated, different things happen. But it wasn't just like, I mean, we had reasons why we did the things we did. So in my mind, you can use the word savages, and certainly the different court cases do.
Right.
But
I'm glad you're here because now I can hear both sides. Why didn't at that time they were called Indians? Is that bad to call the Native American Indians?
you know what's lovely about that is a lot of us have a lot of different opinions about that.
Yeah.
I call myself an Indian.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't have a problem with it, but when I was young, I did, because the way they used it was very like they said it like, very racist.
And when you said they, you mean the white people?
Yeah, because Colville is mostly a white town.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
And so why didn't the Indians, create a beautiful place before the white people came?
We did.
Were there like buildings and...
Well, there was definitely
And-
organized cities of like 1 million people in different places, of native people, right? So we actually did have organization, we did have civilization. It just wasn't as destructive as what is going on now.
And so like when you said we had organization, did they have were they living outside in tents or were they living in buildings?
It was both, right?
were
Because
both.
I mean, the thing is, even now, after, like all these genocides have happened and continue to happen, there's over 560 federally recognized nations, right, in the US just as we speak. And each one of those like has their own traditions, right? They have their own histories and the way that they live together.
Right.
Some of us were more nomadic than others. Some of us like lived the same place all year round. So very different.
Is it true that we know there were different tribes before white people came,
Mm-hmm.
were they warring against each other? They were killing each other, and in all of history, somebody's always trying to take over someone else for the power of it. Were the natives, the Americans or Indians, were they warring against each other, trying to take over?
Well, there was obviously always some of that,
Yeah.
but a lot of times, like during warfare, it actually was seen as like counting coup. Like if you just went and touched somebody, another warrior, if you're warriors, right, and it was the men who went out and
Right.
did that, that was enough. You didn't have to kill anybody. You didn't even have to hurt anybody. Like just touching another warrior was seen as like, you lost, right?
Oh, I see.
So it wasn't to me like as always destructive as it is now. So
Is it better for the Indians now that white people have come and created an amazing civilization? And are they better off now or were they better off then?
I mean, well, I would disagree with the amazing civilization. And they were certainly, I think they were better off then. Yeah, certainly. So,
And in what way were they better off then?
what's every way? I mean, which way weren't they? Like, there wasn't all this disease here. There wasn't all this destruction and environmental, destruction. And there wasn't all this, hatred. There wasn't all this, different cars. And even horses were brought over by Europeans. So all these different things that really destroyed, the land and like the people. So,
But isn't it better to progress in life rather than just stand and living on empty land with tents
well,
and
that's
things
the
like
thing.
that?
We're always progressing. Like Native people had enough food, like from my nation, we had enough food to live, to create art, to be happy together, to live with the land in harmony. And so to me, like, that's totally ideal, right?
Right. So did one tribe hate another tribe and another tribe hated another tribe in the way that human beings are today? Or did all the Indians love one another?
There's like over 560 recognized nations.
Right.
So obviously there's going to be fighting, right? Like
So
not
they
everybody's.
hated one another the same way people hate each other now.
I would disagree with that. I think it was very different
You
because
think they loved one another?
I think some of them did, but I also think that they just respected each other's like autonomy to be different, right? And to let them be on their own and not always trying to like make them think the way that they think.
And so how's your tribe doing now? How are they doing now?
I mean, what do you mean? Like,
I mean, like, are they happy? Are they like creative, and are they like improving upon what they have? How are they doing? How they assimilated with the whites, or?
I think there has been a lot of assimilation. One of the exciting things I do see happening is like language revitalization happening in my nation.
Okay.
So like we're trying to actually get back some of the culture that we lost, right? So.
Do the Indians feel like victims in the way that the blacks feel like victims?
Well, they were different kinds of genocides that were committed against black people and against Native people. But see, when you have like theft, like, I think there is, somebody who was a victim, So when you have dispossession, when you have like a person coming in and forcing you to be a certain way, like that to me is, like you're not going to be okay from that situation.
And so they do feel like victims?
I don't know if I would use the word victims, but, and I think some people, like, right, it's always a mix. Some people are doing well in a capitalist nation, right? Some people are really not doing well. Like, we have the highest rates of poverty, of suicide, of getting murdered by police in terms of the numbers. Like, there's less than 2 million of us. So, right, like, there's less than 1% of us of the population. So I wouldn't say things are okay, exactly.
So this is your tribe that is, you're talking about, or just the overall?
I'm talking now about the overall picture.
Okay.
And
So-
also my nation is certainly included into that.
And
so.
do your nation feel like victims?
I wouldn't say that would be the way that they would describe themselves. Like, we're trying to, have self-determination. We're trying to maintain our tribal sovereignty and try to like move forward. So.
Do they want to be friends with the whites, or they don't want to be friends?
Well, it's pretty hard to be, I guess I don't know what you mean, because like, it's hard, like it's, when you have this history of settler colonialism, it's pretty hard to be friends with somebody who like has done such destructive things to like your whole way of life.
So they hate the whites?
No, I think it's totally a mixed bag. A lot of, we often marry white people, like,
Are you married to a white man?
No.
Would you marry a white man?
I don't want to marry anybody.
Oh, you never want to marry?
Well, I'm like, yeah, totally. Not never want to marry, but not my first, priority. So.
Oh, do you want children?
I don't.
Oh,
No.
that's amazing.
Maybe I wouldn't mind having adopted children or stepchildren, but I do not have.
You don't want your own?
Don't want my own children.
And why?
I don't know. I feel like I would be better as like a step parent or a mom. So yeah, something like that.
And so do you love white people?
Do I love white people?
Yes.
I have loved some white people. As a race, I don't like just completely embrace their culture or the way they are.
And so do you love them, the whites?
No, I do not love the whites as a whole.
You don't? And are you? So
I do love individual whites though.
But not all.
Right.
How is it, do you believe in God?
I believe in a spirit of a universe.
How about God?
No, I do not believe in the God, your conception of God.
Really?
Well, I mean, I believe that God exists for you.
But you don't believe in him.
No.
And so is that why you don't love all people?
Well, the thing is like, I don't know if I don't believe in that, because I mean, I think that your God exists, and I think your God can do great things for you. So it's not like I'm in denial of like whatever. I just have a different idea about like, you know, the source of power, the creator, different, you know, things
So when
like
you
that.
say you believe in a spirit of what?
Spirit of the universe.
What's that?
I mean, it's what it sounds like. It's probably like just a different word for God.
But Satan is the spirit of the universe. You believe in Satan?
I do not believe in Satan.
But he's the spirit of the earth, right?
I
the
have
real God.
Yeah, I don't know about Satan, so
Have you ever heard about him?
I've heard about Satan.
And
But since I don't believe in God, like why would I believe in Satan?
so you don't believe there is a Satan either?
I mean, it's just, I mean, that's part of your like belief system and your mythology and a lot of other people, and that exists for you.
This is how the Indians believe.
Oh no, we are a totally diverse group. If you ask 10 people up here, we would all give you completely different answers.
So there will be some who believe in God.
Like I told you, like 50% of them. Yeah.
Oh, that's
absolutely.
amazing.
Very
This
spiritual.
is so interesting.
Yeah, so.
And do they love white people?
I have no idea. You would have to ask them. So, I mean, I don't know how to answer that question.
Right. Don't you meet with them and talk to them and?
Yes, of course. I mean, the thing is about white culture, you cannot avoid it, right? You cannot avoid white culture, settler culture.
How is it possible to love some but not all?
Because, I mean, it depends on my interaction with them.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. I mean, you know, so, I mean, I would love to tell you I love all Native people. That's not true either.
You don't love all Native people?
Not all Native people.
That's amazing.
I mean, I want to, but on some way, maybe like with your spiritual practices, I love everybody.
Right.
You know what so it's kind of like.
But you were a Catholic at one time, right?
I was raised like different Christianity, Catholic.
But didn't they teach you to love all?
Of course.
And you just got away from that after a while?
Well, it's hard. Well, I mean, yeah, I did, because it's pretty hard when you like, you know, when you don't see that really, when you don't see people who say that they believe those things practicing that thing.
Oh, so they have to do it in order for you to love them?
I totally want to see like how they're living their life. How are they with me? How are they with others?
But why don't you be an example and then they can follow?
Well, that to me takes a very superior spiritual being and a very
God.
strong relationship with the higher power of your understanding, right? Because you have to be very close to the source in order to live that way, which is a beautiful way to live.
Yes.
I'm not denying that. So.
I know people who live on Indian territory, but they're white people.
Right, there's a lot of white people
And
who
they
live.
say that Indians committed suicide now, especially young ones.
Yes.
Committed suicide, they'll become alcoholics and drunks, and
Right.
and they're not productive. Why is that? And the men and the women.
Right.
Why is that?
Well, this is one of the scars of like settler colonialism. When you live in this place and genocide that has happened is completely denied, it makes you crazy. When I look at like white culture and I'm like, if they would have given us what we were promised, we would be some of the richest people in this nation. But that's not what happened, right? So, and when you look around and see all this land, all this prosperity that would have been, you know, that was yours, but that was just stolen from you, it's pretty hard to not feel helpless, right? When we don't get to have like jobs, when there's not like a lot of jobs on, you know, Native nations, or like possibilities to go and get into higher education, it's really hard to see a future in the settler nation.
But so, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm having a ball learning from you right now. Didn't this country give the Indians some land and they don't have to pay taxes or anything?
No, that land was ours. Land was ours.
But they do have that land, right?
We do have parcels of land.
And
but
they don't have to pay taxes and all that stuff?
Well,
Is that true? I'm just asking.
if you live on the nation, if you live on the reservation,
Right.
you do not have to pay state taxes,
Okay.
right? You still have to pay federal taxes,
Right.
right? So,
And why don't the men, the Indian men, take that land and make something of it rather than complaining about what happened?
well,
Why
because
don't
usually they
take-
give Native people the worst possible land that was there, right? Because usually they had this huge parcel of land and then they give them like a little tiny, tiny bit. And it's usually the worst land that you can't farm on it, right? You can't do anything with it. So it's pretty hard to make something out of not much at all.
So the men, the Indian men are not strong enough to take something or nothing and make something out of it. They're too weak.
Well, here's the thing. Some people have done that, right? And I don't think that they're weak. I would never say that. I feel like Native people, the fact we live one day is a miracle of strength and
But
beauty.
isn't it a weakness to become an alcoholic and a drug addict rather than taking a bad situation and making
Okay.
it into
Well,
isn't that a weakness?
Well, I don't see it as a weakness when the U.S. government used that alcohol and drugs as a form of chemical warfare against Native people.
What do you mean by that?
Because what they did when we were signing treaties, we had no, we never had ever been like tried or been close to alcohol, right? We didn't have that. So that's a European thing. So we had no tolerance towards it. We had never, been anywhere near it. So obviously people just got drunk really fast, right? They used it to make Native people sign treaties that were not in our best interest.
Did they make them drink?
Yes, they did.
So they poured it down their mouth?
Well, because a lot of
Their
times
throat.
when people are like trying to be like Native people, especially, we're generous people. We like to be respectful of traditions, and we saw one of the white man's tradition is drinking during these kinds of things.
Right.
So I'm sure that you could just have like a little drink and see, and think, hey, like trying to do what they want, to be polite, to be
why
respectful.
didn't, if they so, I mean, what I don't understand, and I'm only asking,
Yeah.
why didn't the men have the same common sense that white people have and the strength to say, no, I don't want to drink? Especially since they were on the land and close to the land and all that. Why didn't they have the logic and the common sense to say, no, Mr. White Man, I don't want to drink?
Well, so the thing is, when you're in utter despair and you see no future that's possible or beautiful or nice for you or for people who come after you, right? Because we think about 7 generations ahead, right? We're not just thinking about ourselves. When you see nothing good coming, it's pretty hard not to be hopeless and to start drinking as a way to deal with that reality.
And so did they get their sense of identity from things and not from the God that they believed in?
I mean, I think it's pretty hard to be thinking about God when you're trying to survive.
But I thought that's where you draw closer to him in time of need.
It depends on who you are, right? I mean, especially when you think maybe that God has betrayed you.
So the Indians thought that God let them down by sending in the white man?
I mean, I could see how you would think that.
No, I'm asking, that's a question. Is that what they thought?
Well, I could see how you would think that.
Or how they would think that?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Oh, I see. That's amazing. And so are you telling me that the reason the Indian girls and boys and some adults, men committed suicide, becoming drug addicts and alcoholics and all that is because the white man took some land from them?
Well, because if you are a land-based people, like indigenous people are, everything we know comes from the land. So our foods, our hunting, skills how to hunt and gather come from the land. So we have people teaching people how to do this. All of these things form immense connection to this place, like where to get berries, where to go get this at certain times of the year. When that is taken away from you, like you're left with like nothing.
I grew up speaking of berries, I grew up on a plantation in Alabama, and so there are certain seasons where you know how to go out and get blackberries and strawberries and wild fruits and things like that. But then I left and came here, so I left the land. But I didn't become an alcoholic or a drunk, or I didn't blame the white man.
Well, I'm really glad for you, because it's hard not to fall into that.
Why? I can understand why women would fall into it, because women are weaker than men, but why would the Indian men fall into it?
Well, I have to disagree with you, obviously, about the women being weaker than men, since we're the ones who give childbirth and have to go through the actually very difficult parts of.
But that's not strength, that's a punishment. God did that to you. because, you know, how the woman turned the man away from God. So her punishment is to have pain a child. That's not a strength.
I think it's a beautiful part of life that we're not the only animals who do that.
What's
so.
a beautiful part of life?
I mean, childbirth, right?
To have all that pain?
Well, it's part of being a being,
But
right?
it's a
Like
punishment for doing wrong.
well, I guess
deceiving
you and
the
I
man.
like disagree about that. So.
Oh, you disagree with that?
I do disagree with that very strongly.
So, you know, to hear you talk about the Indian situations and about how they feel, it sounds like the black people. The black people blaming the white man too. Are white people smarter than Indians and blacks?
No,
But why they are able to overcome rough situations?
because
but
this
the-
whole
but the
country
rest of
is
the
built
people
for
come-
them.
What do
Like
you- But why were they smart enough to do that though? Why can't the Indian men?
they were not smart enough. They stole it. It's a lot easier
But
when
the
they're
buildings and
thieving
things
and they're
were not-
murdering. It's like a lot easier to be like, hey, we're doing just great here because all of these other people have suffered.
But they didn't steal something that didn't exist. So at the time it was just land, right?
But like I'm saying, it was land that we actually were stewards of and had a very close relationship with.
Right. But the white man got the land however they got it. They went to war, whatever they did.
No, they just took it. They said it was theirs.
Right. And they built on it, right? They made it beautiful.
Well, that's where you and I disagree again.
You don't think America is beautiful?
No.
You don't like the buildings and things?
No, I mean, no, not at the what cost that came for them. So,
You'd rather live on the land?
well, well, I don't know if I could say that. I know I would die out there without without a grocery store.
That's
So,
right. And see,
so-
the Indians didn't even build grocery stores.
I know, because we didn't have to.
Oh, let me ask. I read or heard or something that when the white man got here, the Indian was sitting around smoking pot, but they call it peyote or something.
Peyote.
Peyote.
Well, peyote and
Is that-
marijuana are very different drugs.
Right, but it got you high, right?
Very high.
The peyote did, right?
Yeah, but not every. That's,
It was
that's
better
a
than
very
the pot,
That was a very specific drug for very specific, like, spiritual purposes.
but it made you high, right?
I mean, people. Yes, it makes you very high.
And so, by them sitting around smoking that stuff, couldn't that affect the way they function in life today, since they were always high?
No, I mean, that's what I'm trying to say, is it was used very rarely. It was only in spiritual, like, for
Oh,
purposes.
It
Like,
wasn't a daily use.
it wasn't, yeah, maybe it wasn't even a yearly use. It was like a few times. So, I mean, I wish I could say we're the ones who invented pot, but I don't think that's true.
Have
so.
you ever smoked is it peyote?
Peyote.
You ever smoked it?
I have not.
You know anyone who ever smoked it?
I have. I do know people, and they're
They
not
still
all
smoking
native.
it today?
Well, I mean, I don't even know if you smoke peyote anyway. Well, anyways, yeah. So no, I don't know. No, I do not know any people who do that.
Oh, so you don't know it, but you heard about it.
Absolutely.
Do they hallucinate when they're on that stuff?
Yes, you do.
Oh,
You get very sick too. Yeah, violently puking.
oh. How did you feel about Elizabeth Warren pretending that she was an Indian?
Well,
that Democrat woman.
I know exactly who you mean.
Oh.
Well, I mean, the truth is I don't even know, like, if she is or isn't.
She's not.
So,
If Elizabeth Warren is an Indian, my mama is an Indian.
and she might be.
My grandmother
actually.
was.
I know, that's what I'm talking about. So
Yeah, my
that's why I'm
grandma-
like, I'm not denying anybody.
My
there.
grandmother had that long, pretty Indian hair. She was an Indian,
Yeah.
part Indian.
Yeah.
I remember that now.
Yeah.
So maybe I got a little
yeah,
Indian in me.
I'm sure you do, because actually that was all like native land down there, right?
But
So
they don't like black people.
that's not always true.
No, the
So
Indians do not like black. Nobody like black, but the Indians don't like black people.
that's not true all across the board.
But some
I
don't
do,
like them, right?
Well, I do think we have a lot of work to do, because what happens is, like in the United States, is we start like doing oppression Olympics, right? Like who had it worse. But we don't try to think about like how our situations are different, but how we need to come together anyways. So.
And this is an honest, sincere question, because when I'm hearing you speak, but
I'm like-
you sound like the blacks, right? Why do losers always blame it on the white people?
Well, I guess I wouldn't call us losers. I mean, the fact that we have survived all these horrific things and we're still here
But you're not
is
happy.
amazing.
I know,
So-
but you're not happy.
Well, it's pretty tough to be happy. So that's a very different thing.
Do you have peace?
I do have peace sometimes.
Sometimes you don't.
Exactly.
Why not all the time?
Because I don't know anybody who has peace all the time. So That's great.
all the time.
That's
For
amazing.
31 years. It's been amazing.
That is amazing.
You know why I have it?
I have a few ideas, but
Why?
well, I think you have like different ideas about the world than I do, and about history, and about like how things happened, and
Yeah,
what the solutions are.
Well, the
So
reason I don't have because I have no anger against anyone.
that's
I
great.
don't. I hold no grudges. I have no blame
Except for
games.
against women, perhaps.
I'm sorry.
Against women.
Me?
Yeah.
Why you say that?
Well, because of the like punishing women for like like to me that doesn't sound like you're not
Like what now?
angry. When you're talking about punishing women through painful childbirth, like that
But
was
that
their
is the
punishment.
truth, though. I mean,
So-
I hear women's, they promote having childbirth like it's like an honor, like it's a beautiful thing. But that pain is a punishment for disobeying the husband. Like Eve.
So that's what I mean about that. Like I
Oh,
don't
but
I don't
that's-
see you as being loving women because of that.
But that's the truth, and the truth is love.
So well, I mean, I guess that's what I mean. We have different ideas about truth.
And then
So-
that's why a lot of women nowadays they rather have, cut the body open to have vasectomy,
a cesarean.
a cesarean.
Yeah.
Or they rather take pain pill rather than feel the pain.
Yeah, a lot of people do that.
So if it's beautiful and it's not a punishment, why would they do that?
I mean, I've never given birth to a child, and so
And I can see why.
I know because I mean I would probably choose to get the drugs. So
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you think it's so beautiful.
well, yeah, it is. You're giving a life.
But if
You're
it's
holding a
beautiful to
life.
feel the pain of it, why would you?
I'm just saying the fact that women are able to carry a life in them for 9 months and then give birth makes them very strong.
That's what they were made for. They have no other choice.
Well, they actually turns out they do.
I mean, they can either have it or not have it.
Right.
Do you support abortion?
I do.
You support abortion?
I do.
Why is it okay to kill children in the womb?
It's a depends on your situation. I feel like women should be able to make the choice that they want to make.
But who gave them the choice to kill a life in the womb?
That's their choice.
But who gave them that choice?
They did.
Is that a good choice or a bad choice?
I think it's a choice you have to make depending on the situation.
Do you believe in good or evil?
I don't know. I don't.
You don't think there's good or evil?
Well, I like to try to think it's all just a situation. So I try not to make judgments on whether it's good or evil.
Do you consider yourself good or evil?
I don't consider myself either
You
good
just
or
a
evil.
situation?
I'm just a situation. A situation in progress, right?
Amazing situation, too.
So, thank
You are an amazing situation. So let me ask, where do you get your morality from? Since you don't believe in God,
Right.
you just believe in some spirit out there in the world, where do you get your morality from?
I guess I get it from my conscience.
And where do you get your conscience from?
I mean, I think I get it from the spirit of the universe. I heard some laughter.
Amazing. This is so good. Do you support same-sex marriage?
Yeah. I mean, but I'm not like a biggest fan of marriage. I don't think that's the most important issue.
Is it normal for same-sex marriage to happen when these people come together, two men and two women? Is that normal?
Yeah, I mean, it is. Yeah.
What's normal about it?
Well, what's not normal about it? I mean, if you can find somebody to love and that you want to marry right now, I'm all for it.
Is homosexuality about sex or about love?
I think it's about both of those things. And that's the thing I love. Like, I love queer people who don't want to get married. They don't want to follow like hetero, to be like homonormative. They want to do something different, And I think it's all fine as long as it's between consenting adults. So, because it's really none of my business what they do.
So if you okay with all that, why aren't you okay with the white man taking the land and making it beautiful?
Well, you and I just have different opinions that I don't believe that it's beautiful now. So,
Who do you believe control everything, the whites or the Jews?
I'm not even going to answer that question.
Have you heard that before, though?
I have heard that before.
And do you believe the Jews control it or the whites?
Well, I'm not even, I don't have any opinion about that.
About the Jews? About who control?
Yeah, I mean, I have nothing against Jewish people, so.
No, I didn't ask. No, not that you have anything, but it seems as though you think white people have more power than what they really have.
I'm not, I
And it's
actually don't
been
want to give
said-
power to white people. I would not say that.
You don't want to do what now?
I'm not going to give power to white people by saying that they have more power.
But it sounds like it because they've been blamed for everything as though they really do have power.
Well, they have a lot of responsibility that they have not answered for, so.
Is that because they have power?
Because they stole power, because they steal a bunch of stuff. I mean, I guess if you want to call that power, yes.
So they do have power.
I have power too. We have power too, so.
Does a person or people with power complain?
Yes, actually.
I never complain.
I'm glad.
I yell at my employees. I don't complain. That's amazing. And so when I said that giving birth is not beautiful, it's painful, you thought that it meant I don't like women? I
That's
hate
right.
women? Why is telling that truth a sign of not liking women?
Well, I mean,
I hear women screaming all the time about having babies.
I just don't think that's a punishment.
I know, but why do I have to hate women in order to say that? It
Well,
is.
I mean, to me, like, those things totally go together because, like, why would you say that that is a punishment? I just don't understand that.
I just told you because the reason that God told the woman,
Right,
because
and
of
that's
your
what we-
disobedience, you shall have pain in childbirth.
Well, don't
So
you think?
does that mean that, does it sound like a punishment?
Well, no, it sounds like we just have very different ideas.
I know, but at least it sounds, since I do believe in God, and that is His order for the woman.
I think that women were giving the ability to do childbirth is because they're stronger,
Stronger than what?
stronger than men.
If
That they can bear more pain and they
but
can
men
actually be
can't have
responsible.
babies. They're not created to have babies. So
Yeah.
how can they be stronger with something that can't even happen?
Well,
How
I
can
mean,
you-
it's not. Men don't have to do very much for a child to be born.
Isn't that amazing?
I will not okay. I mean, but
That sounds beautiful.
well,
You love men.
to not be responsible. To not be. I mean, I think responsibility is such an important part of relationships.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's like, I mean, because it sounds like, the fact the man can just come in and dunk it and leave, and then that's great.
What else do you need to do?
Well, I think you should be responsible for the growth of the baby, right? I mean,
No, God is taking care of that. Once the man dump it and leave, God will do the rest.
Well, then what's
You
the
cause
responsibility
it to
for
grow
men?
and all that.
yeah, what's the responsibility of men then?
To take care of the woman and children and
Okay.
child.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess that's what I'm saying they should be doing.
That's what they do, but nowadays the women trying to act like men, they won't let them do it.
I have not seen that.
Okay, so I want to discuss your research. It's very, very interesting.
I'm sure it's very interesting to you.
How is native feminist theory different from feminism?
Because we talk about settler colonialism.
What does that mean?
Well, we talk about the colonization of the United States, right? And how it's a settler colony, how, settlers came here to stay, right? And to take over, not just to be here.
Right.
So white feminism doesn't have that feature. And we actually all talk, native feminism talks about hope and about trying to find a different way to be in the world. I feel like it's a very different kind of philosophy. We're actually not just interested in victimhood, because if we were, right, that would be, we would never get anywhere with that.
But who came up with this? Who decided, let me call it native feminist theory? Who came up with it? And don't you have to be high to come up with stuff like that, like hallucinating?
No, I think it's brilliant, and I'm very proud to be a part of that field.
Did you make up that theory?
No, I did. I'm just part of it.
Who made it up?
I mean,
Go get your money back. I don't know how you sit around and you come up with ideas like that. You have to be hallucinating with the peyote or on some pot.
no, that's actually not true.
But you don't know who created this idea?
Well, I'm not sure who I want to give credit to for that. Because, that's the thing. There's actually a long history of native feminisms, right? Do you talk about the native women who were, because that's the thing, native nations, men and women have different roles, and there's also two-spirited people, queer people in the nation. So everybody just has different roles. It's not like one is better than the other, right? Because you need somebody like home, farming, taking care of the children, right? Like preparing the food, doing their little gardens and stuff. And, men can go out and do warfare and go get beasts and stuff like. So, I feel like these things are complementary. It wasn't about like one is better than the other. Like it was just.
I want to ask you this really fast. You said that homosexuality is normal to you.
Yes.
And LGBTQ and all that is normal.
Yes.
And so if a man put on a dress and lipstick and say that he is a woman, is he really a woman or he just think he is, but in reality he is not?
If he believes he's a woman, if she believes she's a woman, she's a woman. So.
But in reality, it's not. You just believe that.
It depends on. No. I believe that they get to be what they want to be.
But would you see a man, a woman in a pantsuit, and saying that she's a man, but you see with your eyes, you see as a woman, would you pretend that it is a man?
I would ask how they wanted to have their gender identified.
And you pretend that it's whatever they say?
I would respectfully believe that I'm going to respect their beliefs to identify as they wish.
But in your mind, it's not real.
It's real. It's real to me if it's real for them. So.
In your mind.
Do you think I'm passing as a woman right now?
Are you?
Am I a woman?
You just made me nervous. Are you?
I don't know.
You don't know what you is?
Well, I'm just saying.
What you is. That's black. You don't know what you are? You don't know what you is? You don't know what you are?
No, I identify as a woman.
And why?
Because, that's how I want to identify.
Did God make you that way?
I don't think God made me that way. I think that
Were you born a woman or a female?
I was born a woman.
Oh, okay. Is there a difference between Native American women and white women?
I think Native women are better looking.
Better looking than white women? Ooh.
No, I always say that to my students. I'm like, if you learn one thing about Native people, it's that we're very good looking.
Are Native women better looking than black women?
I don't know.
Why you don't know that?
Well, because I'm not gonna the race, different other race stuff.
You scared to say that about the blacks?
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not messing with black people. So I'm with them.
You gonna have Black Lives Matter burning down your house if you say.
Well, and it really does depend, obviously.
What does it mean to decolonize the native body?
Well, that's a very detailed question. Right? Because one of the things, of boarding schools and of colonization period was to try to make it seem that our bodies are like nasty and not good, right? That they're unclean, they're filthy, right? So I think one of the things we need to do is to start thinking about how our bodies are good, how we are good people, like how all of us is actually beautiful, instead of trying to go to white beauty standards or not accepting ourselves as we are.
And so are white people making you feel inferior like that?
I'm not blaming that on, it's it's part of our culture. Our culture is very white dominated, right? It has very specific white standards of beauty.
So the white, quote unquote, dominated culture are making you and Indians feel less about their culture, less beauty, or they are making you feel that way?
Well, I'm just saying when you have all the shows, all the books, almost everything about Native people is very distorted or negative or doesn't actually have anything to do with us, has to do with actually with white people, then it's hard to feel good about your own self and your own body.
You were not raised with both parents, your father and mother, right?
Right.
So do you believe that if you have been raised with both parents and you were close to your father, that you would be insecure like that?
Well, you'll be happy to know that I had a white stepfather.
I'm talking about your real father, though.
Well, I have no idea.
But just when you think about it, when you smoke on it, do you believe that? Do you believe that if you were close to your father, he was there, your mother and father were together, you loved your father, that white people, anyone can make you feel inferior?
No, I don't think that has anything to do with it.
You think you would still feel inferior?
I don't feel inferior.
But the Indians that white people make them feel that way, if they were raised as with two parents, decent examples, would they still be made to feel inferior?
Well, I think we should talk about why they don't get to be two-parent households, right?
Because they're not getting married.
Well, also because, like, you know, Native men, like black men, are incarcerated at very high rates. They're like serving our nation overseas.
They're committing crimes.
So, well, I mean, we're more likely to get caught too.
Right, and go to jail because they don't have money to get good lawyers.
Exactly.
So that ain't the white man's fault.
Well, I think it is actually.
So the white man to blame for everything.
Well, the thing is, no, I mean, because what I'm trying to say too is like working class white people are also not able to get like good lawyers, right?
Right.
But the racial profiling might not go, you know, they might not get pulled over for being, you know, driving while white, right?
But that's not true. That's made up. What the blacks are doing.
Well, that's what you and I completely disagree about that.
No,
so.
I'm black.
I know you're black.
I'm as black as the ace of spades.
Well, how many times have you been pulled over?
In my entire life?
I'm just
Maybe
I'm just
twice.
Saying,
I
I'm just
remember
saying,
twice.
Yeah. I mean, and you don't think racial profiling had anything to do with those situations?
Not one iota.
So.
Because I was raised different than the other blacks. I wasn't raised to hate the whites, blame other people. I wasn't born out of wedlock. You know, I had my stepfather, my mother got married before I was born, so I wouldn't be born out of wedlock. But black people, when I was growing up, black people got married. They believed in God. They loved all people. They treated everybody the same. So I wasn't blamed. I wasn't raised in a victim mentality. And so when I was stopped by the cops, I followed the instructions. They did what they needed to do. They said, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And they went their way. But the blacks today are acting out. They're cursing out the cops. They're running. They're criminals. They're running. What do you think going to happen?
Well,
how is that the cops' fault?
Well, I mean, it's very much. I mean, that's the thing, though. We're talking about structural inequalities that go back before the beginning of the United States. And you're not just going to, like, pretend that these things don't exist. You can. That's one of the ways you can go about this.
What did you say?
Structural inequalities.
What did that have to do with anything?
Well, if it's way harder for you to get housing, to get a job, to go to college, to have any ways to get ahead, that will make your life much harder to be like successful in the U.S. version.
So are you saying that it's harder for the Indians or the blacks to get a job?
For both of us.
But the blacks don't get the job because they don't want the job. They're lazy.
I mean, that I disagree. I mean, they say the same thing about Indians.
Because and the Indians are that way too. You know why? Because the white people made a mistake by giving the Indians too much free stuff.
We did not get anything free. They
y'all
stole
got free
everything.
Land.
No, that land was ours.
Free gambling clubs and all kinds of stuff.
Well, you know, because we're sovereign nations, we get to decide what we want to do on our nations.
But that makes you lazy, though.
I disagree.
And the one thing about white people, they love to work. You notice that?
That's not what I've seen. They love to steal.
What did they steal?
Our lands, like our culture. Like they try to assimilate us. They wouldn't accept that we are the way we are. Like, I mean, I could keep, instilled heteropatriarchy. I mean, all these different things that were very violent systems.
What do y'all want now from the whites? What do you want them to give you?
We've been wanting them to leave us alone for a long time.
But they don't bother you guys. You guys chase them.
They do bother us.
How do they bother you now?
They come in and they'll put nuclear waste on our nations without permission. I mean, there's still all these things happening. They will try to put pipelines through our nations.
That's amazing.
Even though we disagree.
But that would provide jobs.
Well, at the cost of destroying the land,
But they're not doing anything with the land anyway.
Well, we don't want a pipeline going over the water source of the whole nation.
Well,
Does that make sense? Especially when the white town was like, don't put it through our country, right? Don't put it through our place. Put it on the Indians' land, and that's exactly what they ended up doing.
I need you to define something for me. Heteropatriarchy. What is that?
It's exactly what you think it might be. It's like patriarchy, but then making sure we're talking about heterosexuality.
Straight
too.
men.
So, just straightness, period.
What's wrong with that?
Well, I think it's a very dominant source that everybody has to try to live up to.
Thank you. You're supposed to live up to it. That's why it's hetero.
Well, I think it's oppressive to everybody.
Heterosexual men are supposed to bring women and children out of the hell that they're in. That's why it's heteropatriarchy.
Well, they're failing, so you better get it together.
Because you guys are acting so rebelling.
Well, I mean, then you all are not doing a very good job. So,
I agree. The men are weak because the mama destroyed them when they were kids.
well, I feel like we have to work together. I don't know why that would be such a bad thing.
Heteropatriarchy, so you're in favor of that?
No.
You're against that?
I critique it, yes. Well, I don't think I'm not like completely, like people can go and do that, but the fact it like creates all this inequality that's the part I think is messed up.
You love heterosexual?
Do I love I mean, I think people can go be heterosexual. That's great.
What do you mean go be it? Do you love it though?
Do I love it? No.
Would you prefer a straight man or a gay man?
I don't prefer men. So
Oh, you like women?
I like different types of people. So
You mess around with women though?
yes.
You a lesbian?
Yes, I identify as queer woman.
You a lesbian?
Yeah, you didn't. How did you not get this from your research? I do queer indigenous theory. That's my other
but
thing.
I didn't know you were a lesbian.
Well, I identify as being queer.
But you don't look like a lesbian.
Well, what are we
No
supposed
wonder
to
you don't
look
want to have a
like?
baby.
Because I have more
You
options.
are a lesbian?
Yes. I mean, yeah, you could. I mean, identify as queer, but
A queer lesbian.
well, I mean, yeah, lesbian
I'm
has its
stunned
own.
that you're a lesbian.
So I don't live in the suburbs, or
But why you look so feminine if you're a lesbian?
because that's the way I choose to, to be in the world.
To be feminine,
To
like
be
a lady.
feminine. To be, yeah.
And so do you like hard lesbians?
It depends on the person. Yeah.
You like lesbians that act like men?
It really depends on who it is. So,
Wow.
I mean, I also just really love beautiful women of all kinds of types. So,
But not that much love.
so. Well, I guess I do.
You have just blown me away. I was blown away once before. I was interviewing a white male Catholic kind of a guy, and he had he had his collar on, and I never thought of him as a homosexual.
Right.
And then he said to me he was a homosexual. I'm like, you're a homosexual? And then when he was sitting, it made me take my, focus my eyes, and I saw that he was homosexual.
Because we said it different. Like
Yeah. So how do the lesbians know that you're a lesbian?
I mean, I don't know.
So when you're out at the bar, do you like wear your lesbian hat or something?
I mean, I guess you do kind of sense that somebody might be, queer, I guess. So, or not. You just ask people, right?
So what is it like knowing that you surprised me right now, that you're a lesbian, but you don't look like it, you don't act like it?
I actually love to be surprising.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
What is indigenous feminist theory? How about that? What is that?
I guess, yeah, I only answered part of that question
Yeah.
before. I think, well, because a lot of indigenous feminist theory, we have to talk about the murdered and missing indigenous women. That's like been happening in the United States and Mexico and Canada and different first world nations, and like raise attention to that, because most people don't know like the rate of Native women getting sexually assaulted or,
You sound like the blacks.
so domestic violence. I know, well, because
But black women, believe me, ain't nobody raping no black women.
oh my
Black
gosh,
women
I
are
can't
too
even.
mean.
So.
Black men can't even handle a black woman. How they gonna rape her?
So, I see now you've blown. Okay, so now we're even.
So I guess you don't admire the pilgrims from coming over here, early American explorer, and creating a great country. You don't admire that.
No, I do not.
I got to ask you real fast about this court case, Oklahoma Supreme Court decision. The Supreme Court recently ruled that half of the land in Oklahoma is Native American land. And as a result, there was a guy by the name of Jesse McGritt. Am I saying that name
Yep.
right? He was found guilty of raping some young girl or something, but he was tried on the native land. Am I right about that?
Well, see, this is to me, this is not about land. This is actually about jurisdiction.
Right.
This court case
And so this guy was tried on the
by the state of Oklahoma.
right, and then if I'm saying this right, the native law is not the same as the Oklahoma law.
Correct, because we are sovereign nations.
Right.
We have our own set of laws and practices.
And so this guy got away with raping a young girl because of the law thing, right?
No, he actually was convicted of three sexual assaults.
But it doesn't stand because he would try.
Well, now he's going to be tried by the federal government.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So is he running around free now?
I would be very surprised if he was running around free. I do not know that for a fact, though.
Are you okay with the way that happened, that now he has to be retried, or do you wish that they had just put him in prison if he were found guilty?
Well, I don't believe in incarceration, so I do not think that prison would be the answer. So to me, like the fact that if they would have said, hey, like he gets to be in the jurisdiction of Creek Nation, which would overturn the Major Crimes Act of 1885, I'd be like, something amazing has happened here. But the fact you actually know it's about a guy who was convicted of sexual assaults most people don't like think about that when they think about this case.
Oh,
So,
I see. I happen to know something about it. Allegedly, he was tried for that reason. So you're okay with him being out of prison if he's guilty of what he was accused of?
I mean, we have to find a different way to deal with these things, right?
Rather than putting women who rape men or men who rape women in prison, you'd rather find a different way to deal with it?
I think we need to deal with this in a different way.
Like how?
Well, incarcerating people does not make them better.
Yes, it does.
Well, you and I disagree about that, so.
And so what should you do when a person is found guilty of this type of crime? What should you do to make them better?
That I have no idea.
Would you trust, if a woman raped you and she was found guilty of rape, you don't want her to go to prison?
That would not happen.
But you wouldn't want her to go to prison?
That's correct.
And you would want her to run around and do it again?
Well, I mean, that's the thing we have to deal with, is the fact that now we have all these people, like we have so many rapists in our, amongst us. Like our culture creates that.
Why do you think so many women are raping men nowadays? Because you're right, it's overwhelming.
I have not seen or heard of this. So I mean, I'm sure it happens
I thought
sometimes.
you just agreed that there are a lot of women raping now.
No, I did not agree with that.
You said there's no way you would be raped?
Right.
How would you prevent it?
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, like, I don't know, like, I would not want to be calling the cops and stuff like that.
So if someone raped you would not call the cops?
It depends, yeah.
Really?
Because in the justice system, very few women, like, they do not get justice, like, when they go, because it's really hard to prove the crime of rape in a heteropatriarchal, like, legal system.
But that's not true, though. Men are going to jail every day on false accusations of rape.
No, yeah. See, we disagree very strongly about that. I mean, it's possible, but I find that to be very unlikely.
So this ruling may be overturned or whatever's going to happen with it, right?
It's now under federal jurisdiction.
And so that means that a whole bunch of men and women are going to be getting out of prison who were raped. Are you okay with that?
I don't know what's going to happen with this, actually. I don't know if they're going to be, like, transferred to federal prison instead of state prison, because now the federal government has to take care of this.
What happened to you that you now believe that criminals who are found guilty, men and women who are found guilty of committing violent crimes and things like that, should not be punished by the law? Have you always felt that way?
I don't think I definitely didn't always feel that way,
So
because
what
I used to
happened
believe
to
in
you that
prisons.
made you believe that now?
Because I don't think prisons, like, make better people. I don't think it keeps us safe. I think it actually makes us because there's definitely populations that are vulnerable to going to prison, right?
Did you believe, and did you think this way prior to going to school or after you went to school, college?
After several years of college.
Brainwashing.
So, well, I disagree with that. I very strongly disagree.
That's me. I won't let my kids go to public school.
So, well, I did. I mean, yeah, no. I guess I went to public schools. Yeah.
As a parent.
So.
That's brainwashing.
I disagree. I think it's getting more information.
At first, you knew what was right. You went to
I
school
disagree.
with brainwashed. Now you think right is wrong and wrong is right.
I disagree with that.
You do?
Yes.
I got to ask, the Washington Redskins football team.
I knew you were going to ask this question.
Yeah, because a decision was made today, I believe. I wasn't originally going to ask this, but it was made today. The Washington Redskins football team were pressured into changing their name from Redskin to the Washington football team. Do you support that idea?
Of course. Yeah, I mean, Redskins is in our nation's capital. To have a very overtly racist name for Like, I mean, that's.
But there are a whole bunch of Indians who love that name. They have no problem with it at all.
I don't know one of those people, but I'm sure they exist.
Yeah, they do.
But I don't know one of those people.
So you got it all messed up. Everything that's right.
Well, that's where we disagree.
Everything that's right, you think is wrong, and everything that's wrong, you think is right. Do your mother know you think this way?
She knows some of it, yeah. Not
Does
all
she
of
know?
It. I don't think she knows all of it.
Does she know you're a lesbian?
Yeah.
Your mother know you're a lesbian?
Yes, she does.
Does your father know it?
I don't think he does.
What do you think he would say if he found out?
I have no idea.
Why don't you go ask?
So, yeah.
You know that
Yes.
the haters of good want to take down Mount Rushmore, and they're destroying the statues and the monuments and the
Well, they had already
flags.
destroyed the mountains with the monument.
So do you want to see those things come down? The
Well,
monument?
actually, I want to talk and see what Lakota people want, because that is actually was a sacred place for them that became unsacred with the destruction and like to make it Mount Rushmore. So
And so if they wanted to come down, you would support that?
absolutely,
Really?
yeah,
Do you support Black Lives Matter?
yes.
Do you know that it was founded by a bunch of fat, black, radical lesbians who hate God, who hate the nuclear family?
That's
who
not
hate their
true.
unborn?
That's-
It's in their platform.
That's
And
not
I've
true.
interviewed them.
I mean, that's a distortion.
No,
So,
and the head of it, that woman, Patricia or whatever.
Patrice.
She said that they are Marxists. They've been trained to be Marxists. Are you okay with that?
With being Marxist?
Yes.
Yeah, you can be Marxist.
Would you like to see this country turn into a socialist communist society?
I wouldn't mind it to be socialist, but I don't know if we can do it right. We always seem to screw that up as civilizations.
Because it can't be done right.
Well, Norway is the happiest country. They have the best stuff, right? And they are socialist.
So why don't the people who live here who believe in that kind of stuff go live there instead of trying to turn a good into a bad?
Well, that's where we disagree. I don't think capitalism is good.
Oh, so you do want to see the monuments come down
Only, it depends on what the Lakota people want. Absolutely what they want.
and all the statues removed and the flags removed and everything.
Well, that depends, because I also think we need to remember, like, the racist country we live in. So
That's why I had the shirt made so I can remember.
you can remember before
how
they all come
beautiful
down.
Yeah, before they come.
Well, I see you got Lincoln on there.
That's
right.
right.
There, right there.
That's right. So are you okay with the burning and the destruction that this terrorist attack upon America by Black Lives Matter and Antifa and those people?
Well, I understand where that rage comes from.
So you okay with the terrorist attack?
I mean, I don't call it a terrorist attack. That's not what I see.
But you okay with it?
I mean, I'm actually excited by what's happening right
The
now.
burning and the destruction and people lives being taken and all that.
Well, that's not how I see what's happening right
But
now.
it is happening,
It's happening.
and you okay with it?
I am excited by it.
Amazing.
More than happy, yeah. So.
Okay. They want the illegal aliens to come in and just freestyle, vote for the Democrats.
Like white settlers did?
Are you okay with illegal aliens coming in?
Well, that's what white settlers were, weren't they?
Was it wrong when the white settlers
It
did
sure was. It was very wrong.
So is it wrong to let the illegals come in and do it?
Well, because I don't think that's what they're doing.
No, I'm asking, is it wrong to let the illegals come in and do it? Is it wrong for the white man
As
to
a
do
Native person, I think it's way too late to be thinking about like manning the borders.
it? No, but I'm just asking, is it wrong? You said it was wrong for the white people to do it. Is it wrong for the illegals to come in and do it?
Well, I call them undocumented, and I do not think, I mean, why wouldn't they come?
Is it wrong?
I don't think it's wrong.
So why was it wrong for the white people?
I'm just saying, well, you don't think it was wrong for the white people. You said it makes it a beautiful place, right? It's all about the spin and perspective. So.
But the illegals are breaking the law. You think that's right?
So did white people. They didn't
But
care.
you said it was wrong.
It was wrong.
But how come it's not wrong for the illegals?
Well, they're just trying to like get a job.
No, they're not.
And like I said, it's already, to me, it's too late. It's that time has passed.
But do you see the contradiction in your statement? You say, oh, it's wrong for the white man, but
well,
the
it's
illegals.
the same. It'd be the same contradiction for you then,
What do you mean?
because you don't think what the whites did was wrong.
No, as a matter of
See,
fact.
that's what I mean. I know, that's what I'm talking about. So you have the
Why
same.
history month?
So you have the same contradiction, just the opposite.
No.
Yes.
The white man did not break the law.
Yes, he did.
No.
Yes, he did.
There
He
was
made
a
his
war.
own law.
There was a war like it is in all over the world, and
That
the best
is-
man won. I rest my case.
That makes me want to throw up. So
Really?
it absolutely does. Yeah, it kind of makes me want to punch you too.
Ooh,
Yeah.
you're violent.
Oh, I'm violent, yes.
Well, I heard about those lesbians.
I know, that's right. Don't mess with us.
That's right.
You gotta fight to be
I
in this
gotta
world.
put you on the hot seat,
No.
and it's time to put my guest on the hot seat, folks. So I need you to answer these questions as quickly as possible.
Okay.
All right.
The hot seat.
Is America, I already know the answer, but is America the greatest country in the world?
No.
Elizabeth Warren claims she was a Native American. Do you condemn her for that?
No.
Which is worse, anti-black racism or anti-white racism?
Anti-black racism.
What percentage of feminists hate men?
I have no idea.
Do you love men?
I love some men,
You hate some?
obviously.
Do you love heterosexual men or homosexual men?
I more am likely inclined to like homosexual men, to like queer men.
Should we
But I
define
have a lot of straight men friends, yeah.
You don't?
I do, yeah.
Oh. Do you love them?
I do love the straights. I'm not opposed to them.
Oh, okay. Should we defund the police?
Yes.
Was George Washington a good man?
No.
Will you celebrate White History Month with me?
I absolutely will not.
Doesn't July just feel white?
No.
July doesn't feel white?
No, it does not feel white.
Vacation,
So,
4th of July, summertime.
murder, genocide, like raping. Does
Would
that
you-
feel very white? Yes, that feels very white to me.
Would you celebrate Men's History? Next month is Men's History Month.
No, I will not.
Would you celebrate Black History?
Yes.
Amazing. Is it okay to sexually objectify men?
I don't know if that is okay, if I really want to see that.
Have you ever had sex with a man?
Yes, I'm not a gold star homo.
Oh, amazing. Thank God. Phew. Is it right to cancel people for using their free speech?
To cancel?
Yeah. You know how we have the cancel
Yeah, no,
culture?
I feel like mixed about that, but
So you're saying no, it's not okay to cancel people for having free speech?
no, I think it's okay to cancel people for being like stupid racists and say like, unsmart things. So.
Well, why don't they have the right to do that? That's free speech.
Well, they had the right to do that for a long time, and then they like pushed it too far. So,
And so now you want to take away the speech.
I mean, free speech is only free to some people in this country.
Should illegal aliens receive the same rights and privileges as Native Americans?
As undocumented people, yes.
Amazing. Do you love the Great White Hope?
No.
What is a man?
What is a man? I can't answer that quickly. No
What-
idea.
What is love?
Love is everything.
Did you have fun?
I did.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
That was amazing. You made my day.
Great. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not going to handshake you because
No,
of
no, no.
COVID,
You
but
made my hour too.
So-
It was amazing.
well, I hope you get some food.
I am. I'm hungry. I have no energy. Listen, do you have anything you want to promote, or how can people get in touch with you, or anything?
No, I'm all good.
Thank you so much for coming, all right?
Yeah, no problem.
And thank you all for tuning in. I absolutely appreciate it. That was amazing. Let me hear from you. And don't forget, Happy White History Month. July just feel white. And don't forget to support us, folks. Thank you so much. Thank you again.
Thank you. Whew.
Next time on The Fallen State.
I read back in 2009, your stepfather was shot and killed in Dearborn, Michigan.
Yes,
And it was a sting by the FBI.
yes,
Because he was a radical Muslim, right?
yes. That's what they said.
Was that true about him in
No.
the United States? I noticed that at one point in America and around the world, there was a lot of focus on Islamic terrorism.
Yes.
You know, they were blowing up things, killing people. But all of a sudden, you don't hear about that anymore. All you hear about now is so-called white supremacists.
What's your line?
Amazing. What a mess. watching The Fallen State. We need your continued support. Donate to my nonprofit here. Subscribe and like the videos here. And tell everybody and their mama about the show.